All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me touching on the top prop bets here for this Thursday night showdown between my Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as always, I do like to start off with a little bit of a game preview here, and it is worth calling out. This is going to be a pretty high scoring game, or on paper it's supposed to be a pretty high scoring game. We need Vegas to be correct here on tonight's game here. 51.5 points, guys, and projected to be a 3.5 point spread. Now, I actually do think the Packers could pull this game out, and I don't mind this bet on Bovada if you guys are some of that bets there. Plus 100 for them to cover at 3 points. I'm kind of okay with that. I do think there's a good chance that they actually end up winning this game. It just feels like the momentum is more in their favor. Now, you guys might be saying that's just bias being a Packers fan. Could be. Could easily be. But it just feels like one of those games that's going to go the Packers' way. Either way, projected to be close in terms of props betting. We obviously are going to want to be targeting some of the over bets here. And so with that, let's go ahead and just get into the bets right away. So it is worth calling out that Romeo Doubs is going to be out still in this game here for the Green Bay Packers. And so with that, we have seen Christian Watson playing a lot of snaps recently. Christian Watson has been playing 90+% of the snaps and getting a decent amount of targets. 2 weeks ago, should have had an easy walk-in touchdown that he dropped. But other than that, has looked pretty darn solid. And so I don't mind betting on his over receiving yards here of over 48.5. I think that that's going to be a solid bet for us. And this is just mostly predicated on the role that he should have in this game. Okay, so against the Niners, 3 targets, still like the targets there, had a high snap share. And then you look at the games prior to that, 4 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets. He had been decently used. The air yards were there for him last week as well, guys. He had a DPI that should have been called. Now, if you want to bet him to get over 3.5 receptions, I don't hate that. I think there's a good chance that he does end up scoring a touchdown. And part of my kind of thought process with that is the potential high scoring game. 51.5 points here, and again, they're only 3.5 point dogs. We are going to be wanting to target some of the big playmakers, and Christian Watson is one of those playmakers for the Green Bay Packers. Now, another player that I don't mind being on is going to be Tucker Kraft, but Tucker Kraft does draw a more difficult matchup here at the tight end position than do the receivers. So looking at guys like receiver-wise, we can see Detroit does give up a lot of production to opposing receivers. A lot of that is due to some teams playing from behind and the Detroit defense playing a little bit softer. But we are going to notice that they don't give up that many points to opposing tight ends. But Tucker Kraft is someone that, if you guys have been following the channel, hopefully you guys have, and I've been going back to best ball. I was really encouraging people to be on in best ball draft-wise. He's part of the reason as to why I'm having a good best ball season thus far. But anyways, he has been extremely impressive. He looks the part, and he kind of had another breakout game last week where 7 targets, 6 receptions, 78 receiving yards, and he just always looks like a stud when he has the football in his hands. And so if Matt LaFleur finds a weakness via the tight end game, where he can scheme up Tucker Kraft, and that's the big issue this week, guys. We got Ben Johnson, who's such a great offensive coordinator, able to scheme things open to the point where opposing defensive coordinators don't know what to expect. And that's the exact same thing with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur schemes open so many wide open plays that for us to be able to say we know what to expect, that'd just be lying. Like, we're going to try to gauge the situation. We know it's projected to be a high-scoring game, so we're going to be attacking these over bets. Now, that being said, Tucker Kraft has been very impressive. I do expect him to still get going. We look at some of those lines here, 3.5 receptions. That's probably a little bit too low. And even his receiving yards here, where it's at 37.5, I'd be fine betting on that over as well. Now, from there, we really aren't getting that many big prop line differences. I mean, the only one where we're seeing any slight prop line difference is going to be Jaden Reed for over his receiving yards of 56.5, whereas the average sportsbook line has it at 58.13. It's a tight difference, but that's obviously the nature of the beast when props betting on a single game slate. Now, I do want to call out Dontavian Wicks as well, because he is someone that is playing a lot of snaps with Romeo Doubs off the field, and he is someone that ended up having a pretty decent game last week. He has been someone that has been struggling. He's a bit annoying. A lot of Packers fans and myself kind of see similarities to him and Davante Adams, where the talent is clearly there. You see why the team likes him, but just too many bad drops and untimely drops as well. And if you guys remember Davante Adams' career, that's how it was. Like, a lot of people were saying, all right, it's time to move on from Davante Adams. And Wicks is having a very similar season to that. We know the talent's there, need him to step up. And it felt like last week was our kind of the turning the page from that terrible middle of the season stretch. He's going to need to have a big game this week, and I do think there's a good chance that he does. And I actually don't mind the idea of like potentially betting on him to get over like 4.5 receptions. Again, trying to attack this potentially high scoring game. And if he is someone that's going to be playing 87% of the snaps like he did last week, I could see that happening. I don't mind the idea of betting on him to score a touchdown. I don't mind the idea of betting on him demon-wise. Like, obviously, these are not likely things to happen, but he's playing more snaps than Jaden Reed, and Christian Watson has had his struggles. And if Wicks is not struggling, like if he's not dropping passes, he could have a monster game. And again, this is where you attack the Detroit Lions defense. So I don't mind that idea. I'm not saying we need to go out of our way to target it, but I will be running out some game stacks with this, especially on a type board. We're going to have to kind of manufacture some slips. So now let's go ahead and jump on into the Detroit Lions. And in regards to the Detroit Lions, I do think it's important to call it that the Packers will be without two of their starting cornerbacks in this game. And so although the Packers have been pretty good at stopping production to opposing receivers, it could be a little bit easier this week. Now, their backup cornerbacks have been pretty solid as well, so might be a moot point there. But obviously having Alexander out is never like a good thing. And so I think a lot of people are going to be trying to bet on St. Brown to have a good game, whether it be his over receiving yards or over receptions. I'm not particularly getting there. I actually like going with Jameson Williams just because Jameson Williams lately has been impressive. Now, the issue that we have with Jameson Williams is that his receptions line, the one that I want to bet on, is at 3.5, and the under is pretty heavily favored. And so I'm going to pull him up here on the 9-to-5 player props cheat sheet just for traditional sportsbook bets to call it out here, guys. So, like, we can see, like, FanDuel has his line at plus 100 for him to get over 3.5 receptions. So definitely not likely to happen per Vegas's view of it. And if we kind of look at the defensive receptions given up to opposing receivers by the Green Bay Packers, it would tell us that the line should be right at about 3.5 here for Jameson Williams. But he's been impressive, and he's been playing a decent amount of snaps, about 70% of the snaps the last few weeks, and getting 7 targets last week was encouraging to me. And he's been able to get this over in 3 straight games now. And really, since he's been back from that suspension that he had, I think he's been more impressive, I think, since then. I think that ended up being a positive thing for him, at least on the playing field. And so I've been encouraged by that from him. Now, another player that I kind of like betting on their receptions is going to be David Montgomery to get over 2 receptions, but I actually like it a little bit better on Underdog because the payout is going to be a little bit better. So guys, on Underdog, they currently have this as a 1.2x bet for him to get over 2.5 receptions. And if we're going to bet on him to get 2 receptions, yes, it has a chance to be a push on PrizePicks. But I want to be betting on bets personally that are either going to hit or not hit. And so for David Montgomery to get over 2.5 receptions, I'm okay taking that as a somewhat risky bet. But we did see his game log. He's kind of consistently getting that over. He has just about as much receptions as Jahmyr Gibbs this season. If you guys like this bet and you guys are someone that doesn't have access to PrizePicks or Underdog, you can roll with it on DraftKings plus 145. That's a good bet. I'm just going to click on that to show you guys, like, the Packers do give up a decent amount of receptions to opposing running backs. Now, you might be seeing that and thinking, well, all right, Ben Johnson's going to be able to see that and he's going to get Jahmyr Gibbs going. I get that, and if you guys want to bet on that, you can. But to me, the line with David Montgomery is just a little bit more appetizing, at least on Underdog, where we're going to get rewarded for kind of the risky bet that we are making there. And then we'll jump on in just to the Underdog board here to show you guys all the prop bets that we were getting. Guys, a very tight board for this game just in general. We're not even getting good tackles and assist prop bets. And right now we're getting only fantasy score prop bets on Underdog, and that kind of tells us like how, I would say, good the lines are, especially for betting on PrizePicks and Underdog. How good of bets we can make on this slate are definitely going to be limited, at least right now. Now, once we get some PrizePicks fantasy score lines coming out, we could be able to see if there's any middling opportunities. But I do think Underdog is a little bit too high with theirs, potentially. I mean, that's what the day is kind of telling us here. So typically speaking, that is the case, and I would rather be betting on the overs on PrizePicks anyway, so I'm hoping that the PrizePicks fantasy score lines are a little bit too low. And then just real quickly, guys, if you guys were wanting to bet on like someone like Jared Goff to get over passing yards, you would want to do that on PrizePicks, over 250 passing yards there. Another prop bet that you could be running out for Jared Goff would actually be him to get over 1.5 passing touchdowns as well. That one has about a 52% likely to hit. But again, with this game being a pretty high scoring game, the potential to be a high scoring game, 51 points again. I don't mind the idea of betting on that over 1.5 passing touchdowns and then pairing that up with more over bets, because again, should be a high scoring game. We need Vegas to be right about that. They haven't been right the last 2 slates, but I think it will be a high scoring game, and it probably will be a close game, although I think my Packers could end up winning by more than a touchdown. We'll see. But with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the 9 to 5 bet of the day. First, before we do that, I do want to call it the promo code that's currently going on the website. Use the promo code Keep Cashing to get 20% off your first 9 to 5 month membership. So turn that $10 membership into $8 for the first month. All right, guys, so now getting into the 9 to 5 bet of the day. I did cross off Jameson Williams on here. I more or less made this slip so I could kind of show you guys what I was thinking. And again, I honestly probably should just do Jared Goff over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And I'm saying that because this is going to be a better bet to bet on underdog, where you're going to get rewarded more for betting on a bet where the under is favorited. Okay, it's kind of a sneaky thing that PrizePicks does. They'll leave a bet up like this longer, whereas underdog will just increase or decrease the payout. But I do like Tucker Kraft to get over 37.5 receiving yards. I think there's a good chance that he continues to have a good game. Again, Detroit is pretty good against stopping opposing tight ends. Maybe you could just do him over 3.5 receptions. I'd be fine with that. And another bet that I didn't call out, but I don't mind it, would be Brandon McManus to get over 1.5 field goals made. This is a game where Detroit is a pretty good defense. The Packers are a great offense as well. I could see the Packers getting into scoring position, but having to settle for field goals multiple times in this game. It's just whether or not they choose to go for it on 4th down or not. That could be a thing that happens, but they will get in a scoring position. I do think Detroit could stop them a few times and leading to multiple field goals. So I don't mind this one. I think it's decent. And then, yes, we are going to be running this one out for the over on underdog. It's going to pay out a little bit better. I think it's like 1.2x. Same thing with David Montgomery here, 1.2x there. And then Dontavian Wicks as well. This is a bet that is a boosted payout as well. Not boosted, but increased payout if he gets higher on underdog. And so, again, we're more trying to game script here. We're attacking a higher scoring game. And how does it become a high scoring game? Longer sustained drives, mostly. And I think this is the way we can go about attacking it that way. Actually, for a slip that is favoring a lot of underbets, obviously I'm making the slip, but I don't mind this slip. I think it does correlate pretty well. And then Christian Watson, mostly needing him to hit a deep ball. He does occasionally get some rushing attempts, but not really lately. It's mostly Jaden Reed. But I do think there's a good chance that he does have a good game, assuming that those snaps are still there for him. He should get at least a deep shot or two. We need him to convert on that, but it wouldn't be surprising to see him have a breakout game. Now, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. I appreciate that. Go Pack Go. And as always, let's keep cashing.